Cabomil news. Cabomil news.
But you want to be careful to not have it on because it'll be a delay.
And we're on.
We are. How exciting.
There we are.
Okay. Hello, everyone. And Claudia, what date is this? This is going to be the 1st of August.
1st. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Wow.
Can you believe? I just can't believe we've been doing these radio shows for that long.
Well, Facebook always gives you like memories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was last week, a year ago, we had the ladies from the mentor program from La Paz.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
It's been a year. Hey, happy anniversary.
Hey, thank you. That's nice.
Yeah.
All right, we can talk about that on the show too. All right, you let me know when you're ready, and Claudia, we'll talk with Alejandra. We'll see, and Alejandra, we'll see how long it goes. You may stay if we're rolling. We may let you go early, and then we'll talk about some news and stuff. But we'll just see how it goes.
Oh, we'll roll with it. Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, so here we go.
Welcome to Cabomil News and Community Update in English. This is Korey Riggs along with Claudia Velo. Today is Sunday, August 1st. If you are listening to us on Cabomil News, can you believe? No, what did I say? Did I say August 1st?
Yeah, August 1st.
I did say that. That's crazy. That's the 8th month of the year.
I know.
2021. I thought it just started. What's going on? Anyway. And Claudia, it's been a year since we started doing these shows. Can you believe it?
Yeah, we started on an hour-long show on Sundays more than a year ago. That is just crazy. So hey, happy anniversary.
Oh my gosh. Happy anniversary to you. And we have so much to talk about. And we have a great guest today. And we'll get into it in a minute. But I am coming to you live from Arizona. I'm up here for about 3 weeks, which it's not as hot as Cabo, I'm understanding, Claudia.
That was crazy. It's so hot. I got in the car yesterday and it read 103. I'm like, what? That's way hot.
Well, the degrees, it's about 110 here. So it is hotter, but it's a dry heat. And it doesn't feel as hot. And even though there is humidity here a little bit, it's not like Cabo. There's some monsoons in the evening, and so it's so in the evening here. And when it rains in Arizona, there's this smell that's just incredible. That after rain smell. Ugh.
Yeah, like that wet dirt or something. It's a great feeling.
Well, we have a lot to talk about because since we were last on, the tennis tournament finished.
It did.
Correct? It
did. And it was so exciting. And it was so sweet because the final was between Brandon Nakashima and Mr. Norris from the UK. And Brandon was kind of like the underdog, of course. He seed 134 playing versus seed 30. Even though last year Brandon had beat Norris, and Brandon is only 19 years old, so everybody was rooting for him. In the end, Experience won, and Norris won his first trophy, and he was thrilled and super happy, and he was very sweet at acknowledging the effort of Brandon. So I think it was a wonderful finale for a wonderful event.
Well, both you and I got to go. We were very lucky to be able to go, and what an incredible event! And Banca Mifel was the main sponsor. It was great, just being in the little food area, and there was some nice drinks, and it was really nice job.
It was amazing, and you know what? It was an opportunity for a lot of us locals to reconnect with people that we hadn't seen in over a year. So it was like a big gathering of friends, and I cannot thank enough, and I know that you feel the same. We cannot thank enough Banca Mifel for everything that they did to put it together. and to have us participate in that.
Well, and the other exciting thing, Daniel Becker was interviewed on the morning news on Cabomil. I don't know if it was yesterday. Was it yesterday, Claudia?
It was when it was
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, so it was yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he also agreed to be back on our program. So just so all of you know, Daniel Becker is the founder of Banca Mifel, and he is also the president of the Banking Association of Mexico. So we had him on about, 8 months ago, Claudia? And what an incredible personality and interviewee, and it really talked about the economy. A lot of the things that he said came true, which I also think is interesting. So he was a good what's
He was a prophet.
yes, he was a prophet. I was going to use a different word, and I can't think of it. So anyway, well, any other news? I mean, I so for almost 7 minutes and haven't said the word COVID. But any news going on?
I was trying to go the whole segment without it, but no, actually, yes, news and this to me are good news. You know, it's been 3 weeks of high number of confirmed active cases, and we were back to level 5. The head epidemiologist for the health secretary 3 weeks ago said, you know, this is the normal behavior. We're reaching a plateau. Within the next couple of weeks, there should be a decrease in the number of cases. And that's exactly what happened. Over the last week, the number of cases, the active cases in Los Cabos decreased by 46%. That brought the total across the state down by 11%. Hospital occupancy also dropped. And so now Los Cabos is at alert level 4, which means
great.
Gyms reopen, and also live music is happening at restaurants, not at parties, but also event venues can open for events, not parties. You have to go and watch us on Cabomil News to catch the innuendo.
Very good. So that's and it's an interesting being up in Arizona. Again, it's completely open up here, completely open. There's no masks. People can choose to wear masks, and some are, but most people don't have masks on. You can go into any store or restaurant, and that's even though the CDC just came out with their new confusing guidelines. Of all of a sudden they've flip-flopped about you need to wear masks again, and the unvaccinated and vaccinated. Who knows how that's going to work? And you and I can get into that when we do our podcast, Claudia, because that's when we like to talk about those things. But that is going on up here. It's interesting to watch the difference in the governors in the states, how they decide to handle the new CDC guidelines, and it'll be interesting just to watch how all of this continues to unfold, and hopefully. By we're in the 8th month, by the 12th month, this will be done, and maybe we can not talk about this anymore. So maybe in 2022 that we can move on.
Some friends of mine, we were making bets like, so are we going to be on green for your birthday? Her birthday's in September, like late September. So I hope that we will. I hope I lose the bet because I said, but hopefully it will be. Good news for Cabo, moving to level 4, the rest of the state staying at 5. But overall, and you know, people are, I think, learning to live with the fact that this thing is happening and it's going around. And the good news is that tourists feel very, very confident coming to Cabo, and with all the protocols and everything that's in place, they do feel safe. And as long as you feel safe and you eat well and you exercise and are out there in the sun, you'll be fine, I think.
I agree with those sentiments, and I like the positive, proactive approach instead of wear a mask, get vaccinated, social distance. Get it, but do the positive stuff to get your immune system going. And we might talk a little bit more about that on the show, but we'll definitely get into that on our podcast, Claudia. The other thing that was interesting is I had the opportunity to drive up the Baja, and it was just beautiful as always. If you've never had the chance to do that, I do think that it is one of the best drives in the world. It's incredible when you go around Loreto and even just the desert parts where it seems like there's nothing going on. When you cross from the Cia Cortez side to Guerrero Negro, it is so beautiful.
Incredible.
And the wildlife, I saw deer running across the road. I saw a big black king snake in the road. I actually got out and helped him get off the road so he wouldn't get run over. Beautiful snake, and just all the coyotes running across the road, lots of cows, and that's why if you do not want to drive at night, there are lots of animals, and there's not a shoulder on the road, so you have to be very careful. You don't want to get tired, so you definitely want to stop at night. But I made it in 2 days. I made it to Guerrero Negro at day 1, and I made it all the way to across the border in Mexicali. I tried to cross at Tecate, and it was closed. So it closes on the weekends. So I went to Mexicali, but it was a very beautiful trip. And I'm actually going to be taking the time coming back down, take more time to stop, going to Scorpion Bay and other places. But highly recommended for everyone out there. If you've never done it, definitely do it. Have you done it, Claudia? Have you gone up to Baja before?
I will say it's a drive that it's beautiful, it's scenic. It's not something you want to rush through because it's a hard drive. But if you take your time, it's absolutely beautiful. And so I encourage everybody to do it, but not in a hurry.
And there's this really interesting plant that is it's from Guerrero Negro till about
the bujum trees.
Before Ensenada. What are those called?
I've heard them being called bujum, but I don't know the real name. And they look alien. They look like they come from another world.
No, you feel like you are definitely not on this earth, on this planet when you see them.
Yes.
And if you can let me let me see if I can share my screen here. Oh, you want to let me?
There you go.
Okay, so we will. If you see, you're missing this. If you're not watching us on Facebook, you're going to miss the bujum tree. Can you see it there?
There, that's it. Mm-hmm.
There it is. And this is at the University of Arizona, so they have one there. I didn't even know that until I'm looking at it now. Yeah. But they are all over that area, and that's the only place in the world I've ever seen them.
That's the only place I've seen them, and they are, like I said, you're driving along, and all of a sudden you feel like, did I just go through a warp?
A wormhole, a vortex, something
like, so what happened? It doesn't feel of this earth, and it's a beautiful and stunning landscape. I really, like I said, something everybody should do at least once. Drive it during the day and take your time, and then you will really enjoy it.
Well, I'm excited to take my time on the way back, and lots of great. We're going to stop at Valle de Guadalupe also, which
that's always fun. Always fun.
I might bring you some wine, Claudia. We'll see. Maybe I'll bring you a bottle of wine back.
If you go to El Cielo, I'd be happy if you bring me one of those, or Casa Cheque, which is one of my favorite houses over there. And they always have small productions, so it's kind of hard to get. But if you can stop by, it's delicious. Everything that they have there is wonderful.
Well, the restaurants, and I can't remember the names right now, but the restaurants are incredible there. The same guy that owns Casa Mango, or the chef, has a restaurant, and I can't remember the name.
In Ensenada, it's under a tree, and it's called Animalon. Yeah.
Yes. It's incredible. That's I think one of the best places I've ever eaten in my life.
It's good.
I can't wait to eat there again. And anyway, well, we are going to get into it. We have a very patient doctor who has waited this whole time while we've been pontificating here. And Doctora Alejandra Peña, who, don't you love my Mexican accent there?
It's so good.
and Doctora, thank you for being here. Doctora Alejandra Peña is the executive director of the Padrino Children's Foundation, which is an incredible foundation that's in Todos Santos. And we've invited her to have on the show. It's a foundation that that we support, that's been part of the community, that was part of the Baja California Sewer Community Alliance, that was part of the bus project that we've talked about on this show, that takes kids from Los Cabos and Todos Santos up to La Paz to get treatment at the Crete or to get treatment at Salvatierra Hospital, where they have the specialty children's medical services. And so we're very excited. We haven't had her on the show. I can't believe it's been over a year and we haven't had her on the show yet. But here you are. Hello, Doctora.
Hola, Korey and Claudia. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we're gonna keep you. We have a big segment after. We have about 6 minutes in this segment, and we wanna get into it here. Tell us first of all, Doctora, what is the Padrino Children's Foundation?
The Padrino Children's Foundation began as an idea of wanting to develop a community project to help children and to develop the well-being of the community in rough terms. That idea has evolved since 2016, and currently we became a pediatric clinic of reference for Todos Santos, Pescadero, and the surrounding communities. And we've really adapted that term of well-being over the years. So currently our main supports, our main programs have to do with medical help, appointments, medications, surgeries, traveling to get to the right services. And interestingly, also psychology. Mental health has been one of the things that many patients came to request help for, and we didn't have a service. And currently we now have a social health and mental health program, and we work with psychologists, and we have a pediatrician, the first ever in Todos Santos. Wow. Consulting at our clinic. So in rough terms, that's a little bit of what we do. We see over 80 patients each month that come through the foundation, and each one of them is very individual, and the services that we give to them, it depend according to each case.
Mm-hmm. So I've been to the facility, and it's a great facility. It's right in the center of Todos Santos, pretty much. It's you take a left there right as you're coming into town. And how many doctors work out of there? How does the foundation, how many staff members I'm asking? It seems like there was a lot of activity going on when I was there.
Yeah, we have currently a staff of 8 people, of which we're 2 doctors. I'm a primary care doctor. And at the beginning of the foundation, I was the one who would give primary care appointments to the children, and I would refer them to see the pediatrician. And now we have the pediatrician who can really provide full treatment for many of the cases right here in Todos Santos. And we have 2 psychologists on our team. One of them focuses on teen psychology, and the other one more for child psychology and play therapy. And we have a special education teacher who imparts vocational workshops. So this is really for older children, like teenagers who have some disabilities or social abandonment situations. And the whole program is saying to re-include them into the society, into the community, provide them with certain tools to make them self-sustainable for the future, or when they graduate from the Padrino Foundation. And we have some administrative support as well. Our girls at the office take care of making appointments, connecting with other doctors. We connect with many institutions, with DIF, with CRID, with Los Cabos Children's Foundation, Amigos de los Niños, many different organizations in our state. We work together in order to provide the services that the children need.
Well, I think that it's such an admirable thing, and what I like, and Claudia, what I feel like we're seeing in Los Cabos, especially after this Baja California Sewer Community Alliance and some of the alliances, is how these foundations all work together, and I think it's beautiful. It's the way that it should be, and not really people in competition with each other after the same donors. It's really people helping each other out. and it really it's exponential, the help that can be given.
Yeah, the task of addressing all the needs is so huge that working together is the only way that the results can be achieved. And the fact that Padrino Children's Foundation is collaborating with all these other associations that are working towards the same goal, which at the end of the day is provide adequate medical care for children who need it. And as we know, even though there is social medicine in Mexico and obviously in Baja California Sur, sometimes the people that really need it don't even know how to access that. What you're doing, Doctor, is amazing. Thank you for that, because it's something very needed.
And not only that, not only are they not able to access it, and sometimes the socialized medicine, as we've seen with some of these special cases, have no way of treating these kids. And that's where the foundations really come in and fill in the gaps. They have no idea, or the wait time is so ridiculous to get into what they need, that this is where the foundations really fill in the gap. And I think what you're doing, Doctor, and we're coming up against a break here, but I'd like to get into a lot more specifics about what you're doing, some of your programs, who's supporting you, those types of things, and we will do that coming up after the break. So stay with us. And if you want, you're going to have some bonus material on Facebook Live. You can always watch us there. Facebook Live at Cabomil News. We'll be right back.
Very good.
All right. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So, Doctor, we're going to ask you like where you're from, some of the just about you, how you got into this. We'll talk about some of the board. What does the board look like? How you're raising funds, and then some of your impressions about just the work you're doing, foundation, and anything else. And Claudia, any other thoughts you have about? Those are some of the things I thought about.
Usually, what's very important to communicate, in my experience, is how do people reach out, or how do they find out if they qualify for the services? And we often have expat people who live in the area and know somebody who needs it. So if we can talk about, how to contact you and how to connect you with the people that need your services, be great.
Perfect. Absolutely.
And I also think that the other great thing to get into is the psychological aspect, because I think that's something that no one has really here, that it gets really lost. And so
and it's something that nowadays has become so important, so important. I
agree. This recent, I got so excited about the news on Simone Biles quitting the Olympics, because it shows so much character and strength, as before doing that would be a sign of weakness, and how it does seem like the world has been changing that attitude towards taking care of mental health. Probably this pandemic is speeding that up.
Absolutely. And that's something fun. We haven't even talked about the Olympics, Claudia, on the
No.
show.
Are they even happening?
They're so bad about that.
I did see a volleyball tournament between the United States and Latvia. So just the women's, the two-person sand volleyball.
Yeah.
The U.S. won, so I was excited.
They have interesting uniforms, huh?
Oh, I don't notice that stuff. Come on.
These girls are like, I don't know where they come from.
No, they're beautiful. They're beautiful women. Let's
gorgeous.
They're gorgeous.
And they are like so strong. Look at that. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
You're gonna get me in trouble. My girlfriend.
No, hey.
Anyway, she's gonna be like, what are you doing watching the volleyball?
The beach volleyball.
The beach volleyball. It's my favorite. It's my new favorite sport. I really like the strategy that goes into it.
Yeah, there is strategy there. They're always signaling doing stuff.
Well, anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back into it.
Let's get back into it. And
Wait.
he,
Okay, I'm ready.
got it?
I'm ready. Yep. Welcome back to Cabomil News and Community Update in English with Korey Riggs and Claudia Velo on this beautiful Sunday, August 1st, 2021. And we have
July.
and we have Doctora Alejandra Peña. I actually like saying your name. I feel like my Spanish gets better every time I say it. So
It's
it's
that roll
You say it
of
very-
the bra.
Doctora Alejandra Peña.
There you go.
There you go.
It has a nice ring to it.
It does. It does. It's good to grow up with a name with a nice ring to it and be proud of your name. So, Doctora, we're going to get more into how you get involved in Padrino Children's Foundation, how you're currently getting support, how people can find out how to bring children there or who is looking for services. But first, we want to get to know you. Where are you from?
I was born in Mexico City. I'm a
So is that Chilanga?
Exactly.
So fun, Chilangas. Okay.
I'm a Chilanga. I grew up in Mexico when I was a little girl, and my parents, who are both family medicine practitioners, moved to Spain for a little while, and then we moved to Canada, and the whole family moved from place to place when I was growing up. So I had the fortune to visit many places as a little girl. And part of my childhood I spent since my teenage years in Canada.
Wow. That's what. And so you lived in Spain. Where did you live in Spain?
I lived in Madrid when I was about 12 years old. I was tiny.
Wow. Do you have a passport, or you have a European passport? Also?
No, I'm only Chilanga. I'm fully Mexican.
I was going to be really jealous. I love Madrid. I was going to be really jealous because I'd like to have my passport from Europe, but I don't know how that's going to happen.
That would have been
Just for being there.
Anyway, well, that very cool. So you lived all over so your parents moved around. You came from a family of doctors, sounds like. And
right.
Where did you study?
Right.
Where did you study medicine?
So when I was about 17 years, we moved back to Mexico City, and I went into school at the National University of Mexico, the best university of Mexico, I should add. and that's where I did my medical career. Afterwards, I did my internship in Ensenada, and that was my introduction to the Baja. I fell in love with Baja, and I lived there for about a year. In Mexico, when you do medicine, when you have finished, you need to pay a service to the community, a social service, we call it, as a doctor, and I chose to come to Todos Santos. And that's how I arrived to this little town to do my year of social service at the local public health center.
Wow. And so when was that you arrived in Todos Santos?
So that was in 2019, the year of a deal, my first encounter with a hurricane. So yeah, that was about 6-7 years ago already.
7 years ago. And so you arrived, and when did you start with the Padrino Foundation?
So I graduated after I finished my social service, and I had this thrive to travel again. So I went to volunteer to Southeast Asia and India. I was in Laos for about 4 months, working in the northern part of Laos in a very, very remote area. That's called Mong, which is a little tiny town. You can only arrive after a long drive and a long boat drive as well. And I was placed there for about 4 months. And I think it was there that I realized how much impact a primary care physician could do for our community. We are so used to the centralized medicine, the hospital, the specialties. And I met some fascinating primary care physicians who inspired me greatly to do projects for the community and have such a greater impact in remote areas.
And how long did you spend? That's incredible that you spent the time there, and you must have seen so many different things.
Wow, I think it really changed my whole perspective on reality, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for 4 months, and I spent 2 months in India. In Laos, I had a lot of work with a hospital, like a little tiny clinic.
Yep.
I worked with the local nurses, the local doctors, and it's really fascinating to see that there's some places in the world that really the health structure is poorly made or almost inexistent, so
Mm-hmm.
how fortunate we are to have health infrastructure, because in some places there's no such thing as access to healthcare. And when I say that, one of the most shocking experiences, one time we went to this little tiny village, about 5-hour boat drive. We were bringing these containers to filter water. And there was no economy in that village. Like, there was no money at all. There was no way of commercializing. They lived from what they were able to grow in their land. They didn't have much contact with other villages. And for me, and they were very happy, Of course, there was malnourishment and many diseases that people have very short expectancy of life. But it was really great to see how a community could work and together to feed themselves without what we know as the traditional way of the economy and how things usually work. So that was very inspiring. And after that experience, I think that's when I decided that I wanted to come back to the beautiful town of Todos Santos and do something to help the community.
But I think it's just amazing that you went out to the world. You saw probably one of the poorest areas of the world, and I've had the chance to travel in India, and it definitely changes your perspective on everything. And it's beautiful in its poverty, if that makes sense. And I think it makes sense if you've been there. You almost feel guilty when you're first there because you can't believe. I mean, there's poverty in Mexico, but it's nothing like it is in India. That was my experience. I've never seen anything like it, and it just changes you. And I agree with you, but I also had the observation that people were happier, so happy, and you think, how is that possible? But there's something else going on. That there's a lot of community there. There's a lot of there's not really the wanting all the things they can't have because they don't even know. And so I think there's something to be said about when we want the bigger car or the bigger house, and we're caught up in this. You go and see these communities in India where everyone's just smiling and dancing around and really having a family experience. And so really nice that was part of your experience.
Yeah, I remember one of those thoughts when I was in that particular village was thinking of like a very expensive Louis Vuitton bag. Like how would that what would happen if I showed this or I gave this present to somebody in that village, and that it would really represent nothing other than maybe they would be happy because they would have some place to carry more rice. But really, the name of the brand wouldn't mean anything at all, So it kind of like it made me realize that it's so subjective what happiness is.
It
can change so much.
And we could have a whole show on why people walk around with very expensive purses and not, and what it means and what people look at and compared to India. Anyway, but that's it'll be getting off the subject, and we'll have you back. We can talk about that. We will. But tell us. So you arrived back in Todos Santos, and so tell us how this got started. How did the Padrino Children's Foundation get? Was it already going, or are you the one that started it?
So what happened when I returned to Todos Santos, and I was not very sure what would happen, but I knew I wanted to start a primary care practice and I wanted to establish some project for the community. when you do your social service, part of the graduation is that you need to make a diagnostic evaluation of the community. What are the health needs of the community? So I had already developed this community plan that I thought was what the community needed. And I was planning on having that as my base to develop a program. And a friend of mine told me, hey, I know these two women in town. Both of them are called Nancy, and they used to support an orphanage that recently closed in Todos Santos, and they want to keep doing something for the community. They're looking to help children, and they're looking to help the health of children specifically. Why don't I introduce you to each other? And we met, and the Nancys, who are expats from the US and that reside in Todos Santos, and I met, and we started brainstorming about how could we develop a foundation to help the needs based on this diagnosis that I had performed. And that's how the idea was born. They wanted to continue helping the community and develop the funds, establish the nonprofit. And I had the idea of how we were going to achieve the clinical aspect of it. And in 2016, by the end of 2016, we established a little consultation office where myself and a social worker began receiving patients from the community who needed medical treatment, children under 18 years old. And that's how it began. One by one, started coming in, knocking on the door, requesting some help that, like you were saying, the social health services could not cover, most of them the chronic situations. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't afford to pay for the treatments or to transfer to La Paz. And we began giving them the correct support to be able to get them there. And that has just exponentially increased over the last years.
Mm-hmm. And I've been to I was at your last fundraiser, which was in 2019 or it was 2019, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the
correct.
last time you were able to have a fundraiser?
Yeah.
If you're watching on Facebook Live, you'll see it. We have the website up, Padrino Foundation's website, and we'll talk about fundraising in a second. But you're a U.S. nonprofit, right? It's a 501c3 organization.
That's correct. We're a U.S. nonprofit. We're currently in the process of becoming a Asociación Civil, a Mexican AC, and with a donataria autorizada, so that would be the equivalent of a U.S. nonprofit, but in Mexico. So we're currently working towards that. And you're right, our last big fundraiser was, we usually do a big event, a nice dinner with live music, and 2019 was the last chance we got to hold that event.
Well, it was a fun event. Lots of dancing was happening during that event, so it was a beautiful. Where was it? Was it
fun, Korey.
I had fun. Was it at El Faro? I don't remember exactly where it was.
That was at El Mirador.
El Mirador,
which has the most beautiful view, and we always have chef guests that do the meal. It's incredible because in those events, we actually get help from volunteers. Even the chef volunteers their time, the waiters, everybody from the community who supports us, they are the people who make those events happen. It's really incredible.
Oh, that's good. And so I know that, and Claudia and I have been talking about this a lot on the radio, that a lot of the foundations have had a difficult time raising funds because of obviously COVID, and people haven't been able to have these events. So how has what's been happening with the Padrino Foundation this year in terms of not being able to have a fundraiser? How have you been receiving support?
Yeah, definitely a challenge, I think, like you say, for most organizations. And it's been particularly a challenge because we have needed to step up for the lack of social health coverage. As COVID has been saturating the public hospitals. Many of the children's appointments are delayed or completely canceled, sometimes for over 8 months. So we've had many more complex cases that usually would be seen by the public institutions. And the fundraising effort has been somewhat limited because of the lack of events. So we try to focus on doing monthly donation campaigns. Our donors trying to reach out to more donors. We also made a big effort along with the Alliance. A big part of our work in 2020 was to provide support for children who needed food, who needed diapers, and we joined the Alliance. We actually did a concert series online to be able to have funds for that project. So we really had to become creative, and a lot of the fundraising has been through online campaigns, and definitely we're looking forward for the moment where we can have our big dinner events again.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking forward to getting back to some events. So
yeah, definitely.
Claudia, any questions from you? I've been monopolizing this interview as always.
Oh, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, and the good news that apparently you have had response on your online campaigns. How can people reach out? Korey had the website up a little while ago. How can people reach out if they want to get involved and donate, volunteer, or refer children?
Definitely, I think Korey's pulling up the website. Our website has a lot of our information and a link for donations. It talks about a little bit about our programs. We are located very close to the baseball stadium in Todos Santos, which is a well-known local reference. So many people come in through the door, sometimes give us donations. You can donate on the online platform via PayPal. We usually have a service from Monday to Friday from 9 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon. So any family that needs one of the services that we provide can really come by or give us a call. And we have a form of intake. Our process requires, taking that form in, the information, and it's followed up by a social work interview. And from that moment onwards, the children, if eligible, because we provide services to underprivileged children, so that's one of our criteria, that they need to be scoring in a level that they need the support, the economical support, that we really try to utilize our resource for the children that need it the most. So yeah, anybody's free. I hope that you can also visit us, Claudia, at our office sometime in the near future.
Absolutely, yes. And Todos Santos is a community that's kind of like tightly knit, and it seems to be a community where everybody still helps each other. So hopefully that is something that makes your work a little bit easier, not that it's easy at all.
I think that's one of the really rewarding things. Like you were saying, we have had many donations because sometimes the donor knows of a family that the gardener has a child that came to the foundation, or we provide genetic testing, very highly advanced genetic testing for children with special syndromes or rare diseases. And it's fascinating to sometimes hear, that somebody had a child who had been looking for diagnosis for over 5-10 years. And because of our help, they were able to finally accomplish that. And you hear of these stories that come back to us, and our outreach has been increasing over the years. It's really incredible, the response, not only of the families, but also of the donors to help us to keep doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully we're going to get you some more money this year. I think it's definitely an incredible service that's going on. I know that within our foundation, it's one of the things that I steer our members and donors to look at. I think it's an important thing that helps the entire community. I know you're in Todos Santos, but it helps Los Cabos. It helps the whole Baja California Sur, and it's part of the community. And I think what's so cool about it is when people realize that although you were in Todos Santos, you were jumping into the alliance in a big way. Again, being part of that 200 businesses and nonprofits that helped feed almost 400,000 people. I still can't believe that number, Claudia.
Yeah.
That 97,000 families, it's about half the population of Baja California Sur when you think about that, of what happened. And so just Doctora, thank you so much for that. You mentioned something about the psychological support, and that's one of the issues that in Los Cabos in general, in Todos Santos, all Baja California Sur, that really falls through the cracks are these psychological services, especially for children.
Definitely. And our experience has been that you can't treat a condition. You need to treat the child, you need to treat the family, and you need to treat that grieving process of a condition, of an illness. The pandemic has taught us how fragile the mental health is sometimes, and how that also impacts the wellness of the whole family.
Yep.
So really, we realized in order for us to treat successfully the patients, we needed to help mental health support. And since the pandemic began, we began receiving more requests for conductual disorders, aggressiveness, violence, suicide threats. And I think that's something that is like what we call the second wave of the pandemic. By now, I think the sixth wave of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we talk about that the wave that's coming and will probably stay for much longer than the actual pandemic is the mental health issues that are coming from it. And a big part also that we see in psychology is the neurological development from children. One of the delays that we're seeing the most is language delays. Even with the masks, it's difficult for children to develop those skills. So we expect that in the next 3-5 years, we will continue to provide a lot of psychology support. And we have a program actually to be able to detect very early neurodevelopmental issues for little children in order to prevent further complications.
Well, and I think you said something so interesting, because one of the things that's not really being spoken about, and you talked about masks, these really small facial movements that we make when we speak, the micro movements, and if you look back at people like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo, they studied all of that, all these micro movements, and that's why they even talk about their works of art are genius, because they can convey emotion because of those micro movements. And I always think about that. If we have children in masks, what are they emotionally not learning about emotional intelligence and how to read the signs? And I think it's a huge danger. I think it's almost, I'm not going to use the word criminal, but it's something that is not being talked about by the people in power making these decisions to throw masks on everybody. And maybe older people, it's fine. We've gone through our emotional development, but children that aren't really getting this and not being able to read other people's faces or being in that critical time of growth, I just think it's something. I'm not saying whether they should be in or not masks. What I'm talking about is that is something that should be talked about, and it's an issue that people should be looking at. And I think we'll as new thoughts from the people in charge come out, and I just wish they would start talking about that, because the psychological aspect of this, as you said, Doctora, is going to be far-reaching as this unfolds.
one of the interesting prognoses that we had is that we think that language delays and language disorders, as well as social difficulties, will be something that we will have to actively be treating and looking and screening. And I think anybody that has a child needs to be looking out for these signs of development, particularly children under 5. It's so crucial under 5 years old. They're such sponges. And if you think about it, we're going on 2 years of that 5 period, which is so critical. So a big part of our focus, and that has been really strengthened by the pandemic, is our need to prevent neurodevelopmental issues in children under 5. And that's part of a very exciting program that we have at the foundation.
Well, we have about a minute and a half left. Anything else, Claudia, from you before we...
No, just go help. I was looking at the website and I see that you're like 15% into your budget and we're like 70% into the year. So that makes me very nervous. So let's figure out a way to get more donors out there so that you can continue to help these children. So Korey, you're the master at that.
We're gonna get more help, I promise. We've got some things in the works to get more people involved in the community. And the truth is, when people that live here part-time, they actually get out into the community and they see what's going on, they give. And they give their time, they give money, they really get involved. And the biggest thing that we're able to do right now is to get people out into the community. Please you can contact Claudia or myself if you are interested in getting to know more about the work of a lot of these foundations. We'll take you out to show them. I promise once you see them, you will want to get involved. Okay. And Cabo is always taking care of you, and now it's time for you to take care of it. And I don't want to just say Cabo, Baja California Sur, because that's really what it is. Well, we are up against it. Doctora Alejandra Peña, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure talking with you, and we will make sure everyone has the contact information of the Padrino Children's Foundation. Any final thoughts from you before we close it out?
Well, I really appreciate the invitation. I had a very joyful time talking to both of you, and really just wrapping up, get to know your local foundations, visit the Padrino Children Foundation website, call us, get involved. I think this pandemic needs more community involvement. We can't just rely, as it's very, very obvious in the governmental support. We really need to step up for our communities, for our children, so get involved.
Well, I love that you said you had a joyful time, and we want all of our listeners to have a joyful time this week. And we'll be back next week with another great show. Thank you very much, Doctora. Claudia, as always, thank you.
Thank you. Catch you next time, and be joyful in the meantime.
Have a joyful week.
There you go.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Thank you, Doctora. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it.
And I like your energy. You seem like to me that you've been in India. You can tell, like, when people have spent a lot of time over there, it's just you start to see the world differently, and it's a pleasure.
Change my mind 100%. Yeah, there's something magical. Everything and anything is possible there, and that's absolutely inspiring.
Absolutely.
And how much they can do from so little, and how grateful they are about the minuscule things that often we just take for granted. And that's just amazing. It's just
and I think it's that, and that kind of translates into a lot of what we do at the foundation. You see how little modifications, sometimes that little bit of help goes a long way for a whole family. Mm-hmm. It's not complex. We just need to listen and watch.
And like you said, it's about getting a different perspective. We are so used, we're brought up to believe that our perspective, our point of view is the correct one, but when you realize that there are many more, and you can communicate that through the help that you provide to families that sometimes just have no idea of how to even relate to the problem that they're seeing with their children. That is such a wonderful gift that you're giving them. So it's wonderful.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Well, I hope that you're able to come visit. We would love to have you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll be there soon. Thank you so
Very
much.
good. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.
All right. Bye.
And we're going to go off live Facebook. So bye, Facebook world.